All right, let's look at the headlines across Nigerian newspapers this morning, and we start with Daily Trust. Daily Trust newspaper says, insecurity knocks trail INEC statement on elections postponement and cancellation. We warned insecurity may jeopardize polls. The ACF, Arewa Consultative Forum, is quoted as saying this. We won't accept postponement. Afenifere is saying this. Hold Buhari APC responsible if, right, that's a PDP there. It's a call for action. Civil society organizations are saying that, and no cause for alarm. The federal government is assuring all Nigerians. All right, that's what you see on the front page of the Daily Trust, and certainly we'll be talking about that as we get into the discussion part of the review. Leadership newspaper. Now, Leadership is saying that the 45 days to go, federal government dismisses threats to the 2023 elections. Federal government dismisses threats to 2023 elections, says there is no cause for alarm. Elections will hold as planned. Afenifere warns against postponement and cancellation. The AGF, that's the Attorney General of the Federation, asks governors to join fight against insecurity. All right, that's what the Leadership newspaper has in there. From there, let's go to This Nigeria. This Nigeria said, we're being denied access to PVC collection. We're being denied access to PVC collection. All right, interreligious group raises alarm and urges INEC to tackle old politics designed to disenfranchise citizens. That's what This Nigeria has. And then from there, let's go to the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper this morning says, last lap, Tinubu campaign mulls alliance with smaller parties. Tinubu campaign mulls alliance with smaller parties. APC looking beyond the PDP, NNPP, LP, reaching out to parties to adopt Tinubu. That the PCC member, Senator Kombi, is quoted as saying this. And, okay, this has some other riders there. But the Accord Party presidential candidate is saying, count me out. I won't be part of that. Okay, that's what the Punch newspaper has. And from there, let's go to the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper says it's focusing on Buhari, and Buhari saying what Nigerians stand to gain from Tinubu Shetima. What Nigerians stand to gain from Tinubu Shetima. He spoke in Yobe State during the presidential campaign there. Recall that he was in Adamawa, and from there he left for Yobe State. All right, Kemi, that's what I have here. Let's hear from you.
And I pick it up from where you stopped, talking about the APC's latest rally in Yobe State, which was attended by President Muhammad Buhari, and that's the focus on Blueprint. That's the big story on Blueprint, where President Buhari is quoted as saying, I am an orphan. Education got me enlisted into the army. Assures Tinubu Shetima team will guarantee education, security, stable economy. Of course, Asiwaju Tinubu also says there, Yobe Cargo Airport will boost agriculture and my government will end brain drain, increase international airport. That's from the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi. Nigerian News Direct is next. The big story there is on corruption. President Buhari is quoted as saying, 8 years in office, I have no square inch outside Nigeria, and says he's willing to live in country after office. Fighting corruption not easy like military era, still from President Buhari. Let's check out the Daily Times. Of course, they are still spotlighting the APC's outing in Yobe State at the rally yesterday. Nobody can blackmail me on illicit enrichment. This is from President Buhari again, who also is quoted as vowing to serve God, Nigeria, until last day in office. Fox News takes a different slant this time around, is talking about what the DG of the Department of State Security is calling, saying dark forces are after him over wife and Kano politicians clash. He's said to also be pointing at politicians, disgruntled elements as masterminds and sponsors of the alleged smear campaigns against him, saying they plan to assassinate my character and discredit my family. and that forces are behind plot have also engaged CSOs to blackmail him. The Nature News is the last paper with me, leading with concern as Nigeria's plastic waste hits 1.25 metric tons. Mike.
All right. Let's look at the reactions of people on this story on the front page of the Daily Trust and Leadership, where the federal government is giving assurances to Nigerians that the elections will hold as scheduled. Recall that the INEC had come out to say that if the insecurity goes on this way, if the attacks of INEC facilities and offices and all of that goes on this way, the way it is, that the elections might be postponed or even cancelled. Now, we also saw reactions from different socio-cultural groups, you know, the Arewa Consultative Forum, the Afenifere Ohaneze Ndibo, the Middle Belt Forum. They all reacted in a different light, trying to talk about this. Now, this assurance is really important because the feeling, recall we talked about it yesterday, that the feeling of security or otherwise is even what the thing is. If you don't feel secure, even if there's security, but you don't feel that there's security, then there's trouble. You know, so I wonder what you make of this, though.
Well, we are continuing our conversation, so to speak, because yesterday when the news first broke from the INEC official, and this is not just, you know, any official, this is the head of the agency's the institute, absolutely, INEC's institute.
He was representing.
Zuru,
he was representing the chairman.
The chairman. So you know that kind of statement, you know, cannot be taken lightly. Hence, or rather, we can now understand the kind of reactions, the flurry of reactions. Even the APC has also spoken. Not just Lai Mohammed has spoken that, you know, that date there's no going back. And come to think of it, INEC before now, this just seemed like a big shock, even though it's a probability. Let's not forget that it's just a probability. The professor said, if all hands are not on deck, and he was speaking at a training for security agencies. So I guess another way of interpreting it would be that, you know, all hands should be, you know, we should work together and ensure that this date is fixed, because INEC had long been saying they are ready, they've gotten all the money they need. At a point, the chairman was quoted as saying they've not gone. When somebody was asking the pointed question, do you have all you need to ensure the elections are free and fair? He said, well, we've not gone to INEC, we've not gone to the National Assembly to complain about paucity of funds. So invariably, we could say INEC has been given everything they have. But anyway, you also pointed out to me after the show yesterday that the Constitution also gives room for it somewhat. If we get to a point where security is a big issue and INEC has no other way to turn to, it happened in 2015 under former President Goodluck Jonathan. Then I think it was a week to the election date, and then suddenly we got a 6 week.
Shifted
and even 2015
bit.
to that time, 2019, it was due to logistical challenges, quote and unquote. And so now this is a big issue, and we have like 40-something days now to the election. It will take a lot for the country, I must admit, you know, to ensure that the entire country is safe. But I don't know, really. I really don't know, but I want to believe that the man was speaking from a place of information, but then he's also saying that we still have that time to make the needed corrections, because people are we're quoting 50 facilities of INEC between 2019 and now. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot and should give room for concern. Hence the reactions from the party. Of course, PDP, we know how they, understandably, they've also taken it out on APCU, you know, accusing them of, you know, the state of the country. But, well, Lai Mohammed has also said, well, they are doing their best, and INEC has given assurances. And the papers, Vanguard is saying there's going to be a big event at INEC today where INEC will present, through its chairman, Professor Mahmood, will present a register of voters to the parties. So it appears that all eyes will be on him to see whether he will moderate the statements accredited to one of his officials. So we'll wait and see how that will pan out, really.
Exactly. Now, I think Section 131 well, if my
132?
memory,
Fine.
132 or 132 thereabouts. Let me. I want to be.
But we know the Constitution.
Yeah, very good. So it talks about the issue, circumstances by which an election can be shifted. Gives the powers to the president to do that. But the point there is, it has to be done within the ramifications of the fact that the National Assembly, Nigerians all have to agree.
Absolutely.
There has to be a two-third, agreement of the National Assembly in joint session, to have all that. But from what we see right now, of course, there are issues of insecurity here and there, but I don't think it warrants that kind of the invoking that section of the Constitution as it is. Also, the federal government has come to say there is no cause for alarm. Security agencies are working, they are being deployed, everything is being mapped out here and there, identifying areas where they see as flashpoints, and states that are red states, yellow states and orange states, and so on. The security agencies are analyzing all of those, knowing that, okay, INEC will certainly need to deploy to certain places at certain times, in the build-up to the election. And they are seeing how they can protect the election materials and election personnel, and so on, especially in areas that they feel that are flashpoints. So I feel that Nigerians should just prepare to go to the polls.
There is no going back,
There's no going back on this.
Some are reporting. But of course, like you said, one needs to weigh the security permutations right now. Perhaps maybe in some states there could be issue of maybe staggered elections. I wouldn't know, but thankfully we have this amount of time, and hopefully all the forces, everyone will come out and make the people feel safe, because we cannot harp on that enough. We can't stress that enough, that people really need. Otherwise, the collection of PVCs will all amount to a waste. So it's really important that we get this right. And not give room for implications of people to now start suspecting that, or could it be that they have another ulterior motive, they have an ulterior motive. So it's very important. So everybody is looking out that Nigeria gets this right. And of course, our friends outside the Nigeria are also saying
they're watching.
They're also watching and saying, no, don't do that. One, you can argue that, do we really need that from them? But yes, of course, we are all working together for a greater good. So naturally, some of these sentiments from outside the country are also worth considering.
Yes, the friends, at times like this, friends of Nigeria, across the entire globe, will certainly come into. In fact, sometimes a month to the election, or sometimes 2 months to the election, they send diplomats teams into the country to ascertain what's going on. And of course, we've been hearing reports of visitations to INEC and visitations to different government agencies, security agencies, and so on, to try to weigh how the level of preparation and preparedness on one hand, and then also gauge what areas they can assist and help if need be.
True.
All right. Now, at least we've known that the United States and the UK, who are very close friends of Nigeria, have all been doing this over the years. When the time comes, they send teams to Nigerian government and agencies and institutions to ask what's the level of preparation, can we help, what areas can we. So we'll be expecting all of those going forward.
True. And
these are signs that the whole world is watching Nigeria, because if Nigeria gets it right, Africa gets it right.
Absolutely.
That's the perception.
Absolutely. Well, we all hope that this is that time where we give a good showing for ourselves. If you look at state by state, like you said, I wonder what one would expect that all the security agencies now would be studying Lagos, in the southwest, all other parts, all the regions of the country. What are the risk indicators now to ensure or to determine what number of forces or troops or agencies or teams now to send out and ensure adequate security before, during, and of course after, because it's one thing to even have elections. Afterwards, now there could be the issue issue, uproar of should we cancel them or not. I just hope that this time around, because already we have this amount of cases, hundreds of cases in court, just emanating from pre-election matters. We've not even gotten to election period proper, and where the courts are already swamped. They're already having so much to deal with, in addition to other cases before them. So I just hope that we, as the big brother of Africa, we present ourselves as an organized nation that can handle elections. We've done it before, and hopefully we'll get it better.
On the other hand, I think INEC has enormous powers when it comes to election and election-related issues, that the decisions by INEC goes a long way to putting things in perspective. For instance, when we talk about these issues of security right now, the law empowers INEC to either suspend election in certain polling units or certain districts or even a state, depending on the context of the security threats, or whatever the thing is. INEC has the powers to do that and then reschedule that election for a later date. So when you mentioned earlier that permutations and all of that, that there could be staggered election from what people are saying, of course, one would see from that perspective. And then when there is an analysis of the entire spectrum of the country, the scope where elections will take place and all of that, you put Nigeria on a platform, and then you begin to look at the states. Where are the threats? Where are the higher risks? Where are the lower risks? Okay, where can we conduct elections now? Where can we conduct elections maybe next week? Or maybe, depending on what the analysis could be, INEC has the powers to do that within the ramifications of the law. So I guess they'll be looking at all of those as well. But in all, I think there are no threats from insecurity that will mar the elections
at that
magnitude.
Right,
yes.
Right. Well, you could also argue that with INEC did it in Anambra State, despite the permutations, and it was a good showing largely for Anambra. Even though you could also argue on the flip side that, but that was a staggered election, just like in Ekiti State or Osun and the like, and it was largely kudos for INEC, and also bolstering confidence that even on the general election level, they will and will get it right.
All right. Now, there was a statement credited to the president at the political campaign
in Yobe
yesterday. Was saying that, well, the point there is, I am ready to leave, and when the issues of corruption come, of course, I don't have anything to hide. I don't have any, I think the News Direct has, I think you have one of that story. Right. It says 8 years in office, I have no square inch outside of Nigeria. And he is ready to stay within the country. And in fact, there was one of the headlines a few weeks ago when the president was saying, I can't wait to leave.
that seems to have been, a regular narrative.
Yeah, exactly. Or even his body language tells you, well, I've done what I need to do, and I need to go back and rest.
Right. But many still believe that the country under his leadership can still, be better off. He can still live, and he will still live on a good note. Just the other day, moments ago, we were taking yet another ministerial appraisal of, the performance over the years, and they say there are still, bridges to cross between now and May the 29th, when the presidency, of course, ends under Muhammadu Buhari. But interesting that he's also quoted as saying, fighting corruption, not easy, like military era. This is also giving room for all sorts of interpretations. Of course, the military era, identified, unlike now, you have to go with, by the rule of law, and that's for many of us, for some people now will be like, this is just a waste of time. If only we were in the military era, we won't have to, go through, just do what you have to do. So Buhari really made the news this morning. President Buhari made the news this morning. Blueprint, Daily Times, Nigerian News Direct, saying, I'm an orphan. Education got me enlisted into the army. And for me, I think it was also, good that rally held in Yobe State, because when you look at the history, in fact, the recent history, the baggage that Yobe had to have, talking about insecurity and, having a rally of that magnitude with that enormous crowd that we saw. I think that was also, quite good.
And just to add to that, I think we need to give kudos to the governors of Borno State and Yobe State. Bagana Zulum as well as Memala Buni. Both of them have been very dogged and rugged when it comes to ensuring that security returns. And then Nigerians who are trapped one way or the other at IDP camps, a lot of them have been relocated back to their regular homes. And they were not just told to go. It was the issue of, okay, your homes are now safe, and as you go, this is what we can give to you. Because the point is, a lot of them were not farming for the period of time they were within IDP camps, and so they are going back now. So what are they going back now to? So the government of Yobe State did it, Borno State did it. In fact, we saw pictures and videos of food items that they were given, mattresses, a lot of household items. If you see the package for one person or a household, you'll be like, wow, this is really commendable. So you give assurances to people to begin to go back to their homes and live their normal lives, and then as normalcy returns to the area. So when you saw the massive turnout of people, it tells you that there's a great assurance that security is returning to Yobe State and as well in Borno State. So it's a good thing that the governors, recall that even Governor Zulum at the time had, there was a threat to his life where his convoy was attacked. In fact, not just once. Exactly. It happened several times when he was trying to access, he was trying to access some parts of the state, to see some projects and also meet with people to assure them of security and so on. So I think it's a good thing that when it comes to fighting security, the government tried. If you compare what's going on, but the moment one person is kidnapped anywhere in the country, whether it is Yobe State, whether it is Akwa Ibom State, whether it is in Benue or Edo State, wherever the thing is, then it's as bad. We need to certainly look at it, so long as security is in the hands of the federal government.
True, and that remains their primary duty. The buck, of course, stops on them. And but listening to you speak earlier about the rebuilding process in Yobe State just gives a sense on how expensive and what it involves. Because it's one thing to destroy something or a place, is another thing to rebuild. It's a painful process. It's
rigorous
largely
process.
Rigorous and it's not a once and for all. You have to keep at it. The government cannot rest on its oars now, because it's still a delicate period, even though, of course, we can see from the people that they are yearning to have their lives, live normal lives where they can come and go as they please, come and vote, and look at the crowd again. Yobe carries, a lot of numbers.
Of course,
when you look at Yobe and Borno State, Kano states, they carry a lot of numbers. So many political parties are, of course, looking out for the numbers there. And for APC, I'm sure they will be happy with what they saw, with the kind of response that they got from the people. So, but it just gives a sense to, of course, they're not there yet. They're not where they should be as a state. The poverty there is still an issue to contend with. Education, of course. And we saw President Buhari also harping on that if you vote for the APC, you can be sure that education will be, will be good for you. That's if you embrace it, of course. But it just gives a sense on it's a work in process. It's a work in progress, I should say. And our government just need to do more. They shouldn't stop at what they're doing. They just need to do more and, give the people a sense of belonging.
All right. It boils down to being intentional with some of these things. All right. We have to leave it here now.